accumulates in your body. So now let us take a look at some of the scientific findings and of how the ancestral incompletions cause generational trauma. Now, let us understand the word generational trauma. This is the trauma that isn't experienced just by one person, but extends from one generation to the next. It can be taught or implied throughout someone's life from an early age. And generational trauma is a topic or field that psychologists, psychiatrists are trying to understand now in the psychology field. And as we know, trauma can have a profound effect on dynamics of a family. So let us take a little bit more of an in-depth look at some research to help us understand better. The article shown here states that the dangerous effects of generational trauma can have on a family. So it gives us a little bit of a glimpse. It says, this is from the Psychiatric Times, where it says that trauma that can affect one member of a family has the potential to fundamentally change the whole family structure. It threatens to erode the very foundation of a family unit, and family members may start to see each other as enemies. Trauma has the power to make or break a family. And this medical report shown here below indicates that generational trauma on children of those who have experienced trauma. And this report and research has showed us how there is a biological marker which differentiates between the children who have had generational trauma or who have traces of generational trauma and those who do not. So it says that one study of children of mothers exposed to childhood trauma, particularly emotional abuse, had higher nervous system activation. And they see this as a marker for vulnerability and anxiety, especially compared to the children whose mother had low emotional abuse. And the effect that remained significant after accounting for maternal PTSD. So this experiment shows us that the effects of generational trauma should not be downplayed. There is something that is being triggered, that is being passed down through generations when it comes to trauma and when it comes to our experience of trauma. It's showing us that if we have had ancestors, if even our parents have gone through some kind of trauma, then we in our lives are more likely to experience vulnerability, more likely to experience anxiety, and even further experience have shown traces of this in cases where people are having addictions and are unable to come out of it, or of having cases of depression, but not knowing the source of it is not necessarily post-traumatic depression or anything like that. And when this happens, the psychiatrists are trying to find the solution behind why this trauma is occurring, why people are feeling this way about their lives. And this study also explains that there is now converging evidence supporting the idea that offspring are affected by exposure, traumatic exposure occurring before birth and possibly even prior to conception. So now, as we explore this topic, we will come to understand how our biomemory, our muscle memory, and bioenergy ties in with this research. So the transmission of generational trauma from sorry for that. This transmission of generational trauma from parent to child has been proved in various other studies. For example, in 2019, an experiment conducted on mice had showed similar results, where the offspring has shown effects of trauma that their parent has been through. And we're now going to be seeing a little bit more about that experience, what it reveals to us, and what we need to understand. So after the experiment was carried out, it was found that even in mice, there are similarities on how generational trauma was passed down to offspring. And in the Science Journal, there's an article that is describing that early results on generational trauma are promising. We have overlapping findings with the mouse model. And in a preprint uploaded last month to the BioRiv, Manaswi and Javed, who are the researchers mainly on this experiment, documented changes in the levels of fatty acids in the orphan's blood and saliva that mimics changes in traumatized mice. So what they did is compare the children DNA to the DNA that has already been run in the experiment that has already been run on mice. And they found similar RNA alterations. So this means that there is a presence of similar biomarkers that suggest that comparable pathways are operating after trauma in mice and in children. So that shows us a little bit that there are different markers that can be tracked from generation from one generation to the next, and also across different species on trauma and how it is passed down. And even other research and studies have also confirmed the way in which transmission of trauma occurs, whether in human or in animal. And this is taking from our knowledge of biology and also how DNA is passed down. According to convention, this article says from Scientific American, the genetic sequences contained in DNA are the only way to transmit biological information across generations. Random DNA mutations, when beneficial, enable organisms to adapt to changing conditions, but this process typically occurs over many generations. And research and development has progressed greatly. Now recognizes that even within cultures, this generational trauma exists. In an article here, we're seeing about cultural trauma and epigenetic inheritance. It's saying that it has long been recognized that experiences of parents and ancestors influence their future generations. Many cultural practices and ritual functions to transmit historical knowledge and experiences across generations. So it's showing us that there is a commonality between cultures, and many people have found this in even their research and psychology research on why certain communities are undergoing more depression than others, why certain communities are more vulnerable to addiction, and the members of their communities are more vulnerable to addiction or to even depression, or even to different forms of poverty. And in this way, they've seen that the trauma that the current generation is experiencing right now is not necessarily something that is done in their lives, but because and due to their ancestors and due to the trauma that their ancestors have been through. And if you take examples of perhaps the indigenous Native Americans, or even Hindus with a history of Holocaust, of genocide, we are now seeing the effects of that in our current generation, in the generation that is living now and trying to cope up, trying to heal their past life, their past and their ancestral trauma, and as well what they're going through right now in their lives. And modern day science has provided some solutions. They generally lead patients and lead these individuals to going to therapy. And therapy is the primary way that people can tackle generational trauma and actually trauma in general. And they use parent-child interaction therapy, child-parent relationship therapy, and different kinds of therapy that will help one address the generations before them, and will address the trauma that their previous generation has been through. So this is the way that modern science and the medicine system, institution of health, has addressed this generational trauma, as it has only now been recognized by the scientific community as well. But now let us take a look at the Hindu solutions for generational trauma. First of all, from time immemorial, Hinduism, Sanatana Hindu Dharma, has done vast research and development in this field. And while it is something that is very much new for the modern day science and modern day scientists, it is something, it's a science already established in the in Hinduism. And it's not only identified the root cause of generational trauma, but has also the solution, which is practiced in every Hindu family until today. And that is what brings us to understanding the solutions that Hinduism reveals. There are two main ways that Hinduism provides the solution for generational trauma and this occurrence, this feeling and liberating the souls of your ancestors. And first is Shraddha. The second is Maheshwara Puja. We're going to be seeing a little bit more of the details behind both of these solutions. Yes. So before we go into what happens about after death, and what are the Hindu understandings behind what happens after a person dies? And of course, this is recognized in Hinduism as literally the way that the whole existence works, and how literally a soul will go from one body to the next. So when a person dies, first, his soul leaves the physical body. Then second, it moves from the physical body to the subtle body, which is called the Sukshma Sarira. And in the Sukshma Sarira, it stays for 3 kshanas, the gap between two thoughts. A kshana is defined as the gap between two thoughts, and the gap between two thoughts can be varied. It's not necessarily exactly one or 2 seconds. It's not necessarily a period of time, and it can vary across other individuals. Swamiji says that for even some of the Vedic rishis, the people who have been established in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi and the great experience of enlightenment, the kshana, this gap between two thoughts, can even be centuries. It can even be kalpas, billions of years, because they will be resting in that space of thoughtlessness. So once you're in the Sukshma Sarira, they can then decide whether to take a human body or whether to stay without a body, or whether to become enlightened and relax and liberate yourself, or whether to take any other type of janma. You will be able to choose. And because you have the freedom, you are relaxed. And if we have lived a restless life, we will stay literally only 3 microseconds. The kshana will happen extremely fast, and in the 3 microseconds, we'll not have time to choose about our next birth. We will just choose in a very haphazard way, and just whatever comes to our thought, just like that, we will choose. And if we've lived a peaceful life, we will have time to look at our complete samskara structure. We will be able to see how we lived this whole life. The most beautiful aspect here is that just exactly how we lived determines how we will be perceiving, how our consciousness will be after our death. If we lived a life of restlessness, then we will experience that after death as well. We'll feel that the time in between, there's absolutely no time, and that we have to rush into the next body. We'll be overwhelmed by the karmas that we have, by the samskaras that we have, and rush into the next body, and we won't consider whether it's an animal body, whether it is a human body, where this human body is. We won't consider anything at all. If we have lived a peaceful life, then if we had just had one glimpse of Nirvikalpa Samadhi with the initiation of the avatar, even then we will have the capacity, the strength and endurance to be able to take a step back and prolong that gap between two thoughts, the kshana, and be able to make a healthy decision about where we should go next. And in that way, we can even choose whom to be born to, our parents, and where we should be born, or where our parents are that we should be born to. We can choose so many things that can literally ensure that we are living the life that we want, and that we are fulfilling the karma, the prarabdha karma that we have. And now, many people have left their bodies in our lives and we are still left behind. That is when the last rites come into picture. Last rites are done to liberate the soul, to give a good farewell. And actually, if you are a person who is continuously bothering about the departed soul, that soul will not be able to continue on in its journey. It is a farewell that we are giving to that soul. We're just saying beautifully, yes, you have lived with us, that's wonderful and really great. Now it is time you can carry your life. And even though we may not be able to digest it right now, we respect your decision. And now Devi Parashakti has revealed what happens to the departed souls after they leave their body in a way that we all can understand. Devi Parashakti has said, sometimes ancestors, based on their karmic deeds, may or may not be able to find the next body. They remain stuck in the form of Pitru. The Pitrus have their own heavenly place to reside, and it is called the Pitru Loka. And our responsibility is to release the soul from the bondages that they have. Offering libations of water until gingerly to the Pitrus, deceased parents and ancestors, to satisfy and elevate them to a higher spiritual plane is called the Pitru Darpanam. This Pitru Darpana is done to give a beautiful farewell or to release the soul from bondages. And a historical example of performing the last rites, the very first and in this tradition is the king Bhagirath himself, and it also tells us this history of the river Ganga. Ganga is considered as a river which is there in the higher lokas. It is there in the Kamandalu of Brahma, means this is the energy, the water energy of the whole existence. And it is the king Bhagiratha who did so much of penance in order to bring down the river Ganga and allow that water energy to be present on earth and to play a very, very crucial role in the liberation of our ancestors. You might have heard of thousands, if not millions of Hindus who go to Varanasi and other places where Ganga is there, Ganga is residing in order to liberate the souls of their ancestors and to perform their oblations towards their ancestors and to perform the duties as every Hindu holds. And this is the story of how that tradition originated with the king Bhagiratha. And it tells us a lot about behind also even generational trauma and the science of enlightenment just through the liberation of our Pitrus. So there was a king who was called Bhagiratha, and for some reason his forefathers, his Pitrus, had been stuck in the Pitruloka and unable to take a new body. These souls had continuously been struggling and suffering in the Pitruloka, and they were not liberated. And so they continuously were begging King Bhagiratha to help them in some way, do something in order to liberate them. So the king decides that, yes, I have to do something to liberate them. And in order to, the king takes up intense tapas. In the Bhishma Parva of chapter 6, verse 4 of Mahabharata, King Bhagiratha appears and gives darshan, and Brahma says, yes, I can send the river Ganga to the planet Earth, but be very clear, can planet Earth hold river Ganga's speed? And Brahma tells him, first do something for that and arrange for it, then I will send Ganga. So then again, King Bhagiratha starts doing penance, and this time for Bhagavan Paramashiva. When the king Bhagiratha explained that now Lord Brahma accepted to send the river Ganga to the planet Earth, but he says the whole planet Earth will be washed away. So please, Paramashiva, can you please do something in order to protect us? You have to take care of us. And this is the request from Bhagiratha to Paramashiva. And Paramashiva says, yes, all right, I will take care, don't worry. Tell Bhagavan Brahma to send river Ganga, I will take care. Then again, King Bhagirath meditates and does the tapas. And so then Brahma again appears and says, okay, I'm ready to send, but the Devatas are not ready to depart with the river Ganga. They like to take bath in Ganga every day, and it is their life source. Ganga is not simple, and it is an energy. By bathing in that only every day, they rejuvenate their body and mind. So the king Bhagirath says, yes, okay, all right, I will arrange all the facilities for the Devatas to stay on the planet Earth, just on the banks of the river Ganga. I will create cities where all the gods and goddesses can live and have bath every day and have their regular routine as they have in other lokas, as they have in the Brahma Loka. So then King Bhagiratha comes and does the tapas towards Himachala, the Hima hills, the Hima Parvata, Himaraja. And Himaraja appears and asks, what do you want? So the king requests, I want to be the host for Mother Ganga and place where I can create a city for all the Devatas. From you only Ganga can flow. Only you can be the base on which Ganga can flow towards the planet Earth. And so then the king Bhagiratha does tapas towards Devi Parvati. And mother appears and asks, what do you want? And king says, Ma, I wanted to bring Ganga to the planet. I wanted your father to be a host. How can Ganga be a host? Sorry, how can he host Ganga? And Devi Parvati says, I am she is me. She says, River Ganga is the feminine aspect of me and I am the mother aspect of her. Then she goes and tells Himaraja, the host, to host her, and Himaraja accepts. Then King Bhagiratha starts building the whole city throughout the route in which Ganga is supposed to travel. He meditates on every hill and takes permission. He prays to every hill. Every hill says, yes, I will give the way for Ganga. And so the whole route in this way is cleared. Then he goes and prays to Lord Kalabhairava, who is in charge of city of Varanasi. Kalabhairava appears and says, what do you want? And he says, please give us a way for Ganga. You should receive Ganga and give us the way. And Kalabhairava tells, surely I will give, don't worry, but this is such a holy city. Tell Ganga to take a full production of the city and go. Do production of the city and go. And Ganga accepts that. Bhagavan Kalabhairava's command and she takes the U-turn. Means the Uttarvahani. She is called the Uttarvahani in Kashi. Suddenly Lord Brahma comes up with the next trouble. He says that you meditated and propitiated all of the Devatas except Vishnu. Only then I can send Ganga. And then the king started meditating towards Lord Vishnu this time. And Vishnu also appeared and says, what do you want? The king shares, I wanted to bring Ganga to the planet Earth. Unless you agree, unless you give the blessings, it will not be possible. So please bless me. So Bhagavan Vishnu says, all right, bless you. Ganga will come to the planet Earth and she will come just out of my feet. Then he says a beautiful one more sentence. Whomsoever has realized the Vishnu Maya means a universal consciousness, whatever water comes out of their feet will be Ganga. From this world only the tradition of Pada Puja starts, and Pada Puja of enlightened masters starts from this tradition. So then the king meditates now towards Brahma, and Brahma appears with all his glory and compassion and blesses the Bhagiratha. Then he prays to Ganga and he does tapas towards Ganga and meditates and invites Ganga. And of course, Ganga, with all of her compassion at last, not only compassion, the wild energy, she just comes out of the Brahma's Kamandalu. With all the power, she straight away started moving towards the earth. The moment she came out of the Kamandalu and started moving towards the planet Earth, all the 14 worlds were shaken. Every Devata, all the Rishis, the Munis, they escaped from the planet Earth and ran away because they got frightened that the Pralaya is going to happen. They thought the end of the world was going to come. And with such a power, they simply ran away from their world and they escaped. And now Paramashiva beautifully appears and puts his head in between the Ganga. She straightaway lands in Shiva's head into the matted locks. And the next thing, she gets herself locked in the hair and she is locked. So, but then King Bhagiratha is sitting and waiting for Ganga for one kalpa. What has happened? Already she has started, but she has not yet landed. What happened? So again, he meditates towards Paramashiva, and Paramashiva appears and says, yes, she's there in my head. Now what do you want me to do? And Bhagirath says, please just send her a little bit. Don't send the whole thing. And then Shiva says, oh, is it so? All right, then just he moves one hair and just he does only one hair moves. And from that one hair gap, Ganga comes out and lands on the Himalayas. So let us understand the whole happening of Ganga from the dimension of the spiritual enlightenment. So actually, the whole happening is a metaphysical expression of Bhagiratha's enlightenment. The first thing is that Bhagiratha is tortured by the past samskaras and engrams, and that is the elders who are not liberated. Still, they are hanging around him. He's continuously tortured by the past samskaras and engrams. So Bhagiratha does tapas towards the creator of the whole universe, and he wants the knowledge, the energy to be flooded on him so that the engrams will be washed away and all the engrams will be destroyed. And one more important thing is that when Ganga came, she washed all the ashes of Bhagiratha's forefathers and liberated them. So understand, in Hinduism, this is the beautiful way that the whole Shraddha ritual, the Pindu Tarpana, everything originated. The Ganga, very happening of Ganga on planet Earth itself. The truth is that Bhagiratha has done intense tapas, not just in order to fulfill his own enlightenment for his own forefathers and ancestors, but also for each and every one of us, because today all of us implement the use of Mother Ganga, pray to Mother Ganga to liberate our ancestors just as she did for Bhagiratha. And understand, Hinduism offers rituals to liberate your ancestors just like this. And the rituals are a way that is much easier than what Bhagiratha did in order to liberate our ancestors. The first is the Shraddha ritual, and the second is the Maheshwara Puja. So now we're going to understand those in a little bit more detail. The Shraddha ritual is taken from the Agamas, where in the Atha Shaiva Shraddha Vidhi, it says, the ceremony which was told now is known as Shaiva Shraddha. And this type of ceremony is to be for those who had been blessed with the Nirvana Diksha. For the persons who had been Samaya or Putrakas, another type of ceremony known as Rudra Shraddha is to be performed. In this kind of ceremony, the names of the Pitradevas are Rudra, Skanda, and Ganadisha. And the names of the Vishwadevas are Chanda and Mahakala. For other non-initiated persons, Laukika Shraddha is to be performed. In this type of Shraddha, the names of Pitrudevas are Brahma, Vishnu, and Isha, and the names of Vishwadevas are Surya and Yama. For all of the Shraddhas, 5 persons are to be invited. And out of these 3 Shraddhas, Shaiva Shraddha, which is done with employment of Shiva mantras, is extolled to be the supreme purifying one. Maheshwara Puja allows for the liberation of ancestors through the living avatar. It is offered to those souls who are no longer alive, so they can rest in eternal peace, and the real peace that any soul can experience is enlightenment. So now let us understand about Maheshwara Puja. Maheshwara Puja is Hinduism's most ancient ritual prevalent even today. The ritual is offered in the memory of a person who is no more. And the Maheshwara Puja is offered by the loved ones of the deceased to bring intense completion. During the Maheshwara Puja, an incarnation completes on your behalf with the departed souls. And Maheshwara Puja bestows the performer with peace, completion, and emotional relief to smoothly recover from the trauma and the loss of a loved one. So completion means living and acting without any hangover of the past, words, or any memories. And when you are in completion, you will remember past incidents and actions, but they will no longer have the power to cause pain or anger or guilt in you. So during the Maheshwara Puja, your request for completion is offered in the form of bhiksha, or food to the avatar, an incarnation as per Hinduism. Only the avatar can actually trace the departed soul in the cosmos and relieve both you and that being departed soul of incompletions. And there is actually a verse from the Manusmriti, which talks about the departed souls who wait for their completion. It says, आसाधिं अवधिं कृत्वा पञ्चमं पक्षमाश्रितः काङ्क्षतानि पितरः क्लिष्टा अन्नमप्यावहं जलम्. The departed soul waits eagerly for the completion through the food and water during the Mahalaya Paksha, which is a fortnight of departed souls. The tradition says that there are 3 places where you can offer the farewell ritual or the Shraddha Puja. And that it says that Bodh Gaya, where Buddha became enlightened, and where Bhagavan Vishnu's feet are worshipped. This is a place well known for the energy of Pinda Shraddha for completion with the departed souls. And the second is Bhadri in Badrikashram. Bhagavan Kalabhairava himself receives Brahma Kapala, holding Brahma's skull, and receives the Pinda and offers it to Bhagavan Vishnu on our behalf. The third place is the Manas Sarovar near Kailasa in the Himalayas. So these 3 places, all of them put together, is what is equivalent to the avatar offering completion during the Maheshwara Puja. The avatar is said to be all 3, the Brahma Kapala, Kalabhairava's body, and Vishnu's feet, Manas Sarovar, Badrikashram, and Bodh Gaya, during this Maheshwara Puja. So if it so happens that the departed soul has already taken the next birth, by offering the Maheshwara Puja, you will be relieving them and their karmas, and suddenly their soul starts progressing in their journey wherever he needs to progress. So the ritual is like completing the completions at both ends. It is a blessing of an incarnation when he sits and accepts the Maheshwara Puja. And there are many, many stories, many breakthroughs that people have had when they have offered this Maheshwara Puja. And we can go on and on telling the stories of how people have achieved completion through Maheshwara Puja. Today, we'd like to share with all the viewers one of those examples where a devotee has been able to offer the Maheshwara Puja, and she has a breakthrough in several different areas of her life. Not just in healing with her mother, who was the person on behalf of whom she had offered the Maheshwara Puja and who had been the departed soul, but also in her own life, in the aspect of finances, in the aspect of her relationship with her husband, in the aspect of her own time management. She found so much of completion just through the Maheshwara Puja, and it shows us a really profound example of what we've been speaking about, how generational trauma is influencing us, how the Pitrus are in some way influencing us, and just the liberation of our Pitrus can do so much good for each and every one of us. So now let us watch that sharing, and then we'll be moving on and learning a little bit more about about Maheshwara Puja.
大家好，我的名字叫梁冰飞，我是 Paramashivoham 课程35期的学员，从第36期开始一直在课程关怀组做志愿者。我想跟大家分享我在11月4日做了 BHAVA Puja 为祖先超度的仪式之后的一些感受。在 Paramashivoham 课程中，我学到的科学，也做了很多相应的练习。我曾经认为我的这个圆满还没有做，还有很多不圆满，所以我请求斯瓦米吉帮我拿走这个业力，帮我圆满我的这个内心的无力感。然后这时候呢，就有一个同修师姐，我跟她说了这件事，她跟我说你可以去问问你妈妈的朋友。然后我突然就想到了我认识的一个我妈妈的朋友，我还有他的微信号，我就马上去联系了他，然后他也马上给了我回复，他那里还有那种就是黑白的，几十年前的那种大合影的照片，他是我妈妈的小学同学，大合影的照片里有我的妈妈的样子，我觉得这一切都是上师的安排，他让我知道我还有这样的不圆满，让我愿意去臣服于上师，让他去帮我拿走我的不圆满。同时我也感受到了上师的爱和同修的爱，他们会帮助我圆满我的这些无力感。接下来我想讲一下我在参与完BHAVA Puja超度仪式之后的一些感受。在当时仪式的时候呢，我其实是有感觉到有一些能量的进入，我也一直在向上师去请求拿走我这个内心的无力感，圆满我内心的模式。当天呢，我参加完超度仪式之后，我走出家门的时候，我就发现自己的身体呢就轻盈了很多，就是从未没有的那种轻盈感，我也觉得很神奇我觉得可能是业力被拿走的那种感觉，就是这样的轻盈感吧。我在去星巴克买饮料的时候呢，我得到了一个这个1赠1的一个幸运问卷，就是随机的1500人或者1000位顾客，里面会突然蹦出来这么一个，就是很随机的。虽然只是显化了一杯饮料，但是我会觉得自己是一个很幸运的人。当天晚上呢，我也一直感觉到自己呢是已经是非常被治愈，已经一直在一个圆满空间里。我当时就鼓起勇气跟我先生说起了斯瓦米吉的事情。在此之前，我一直都不敢告诉他我在跟随尼辛亚南达大师学习的事情。因为什么呢？是我觉得我是对自己不够有自信，我怕他认为我是误入邪教啊。每当他问我的时候，虽然我家里也已经摆上了斯瓦米吉的像，但是然后我就会告诉他我在学习瑜伽，这是我的瑜伽老师。我也并没有跟他讲我在具体的还在学什么。但是在超度仪式之后呢，我就突然有一股很大的勇气。我跟他说我在跟随尼辛亚南达上师学习的事情呢，以圆满的空间跟他交流。然后我先生跟我说他觉得这是一件好事。然后我觉得自己这么多天这种就是不安啊、不自信啊，就是自己的幻象。我其实没有必要这么纠结在自己的这些内心不自信上面。通过跟我先生的这个交流呢，我也突然感到自己的这个内在空间有了很大的扩张。我曾经呢也认为我有一份全职的工作，然后还要参与志愿者的工作，然后还有自己的家庭，还有孩子要照顾啊。我就觉得自己怎么会有那么多时间和精力呢？这真的是不可能的任务。我经常就是陷在这种 时间的无力感里，然后我也是经常在这个手账上去记录一些自己的日程啊，然后就会越来越发现自己的时间的匮乏。但这次参加完超度仪式之后，我明显感觉到自己内心的空间的扩张。我也会觉得事情是有很多事情，但是我只要拿起责任去一件一件的完成，所有的事情都会很顺利的解决。如果你看到这个视频，也会对马哈巴拉普贾超度仪式感兴趣的话呢，欢迎和志愿者联系。感恩大家，一天当当。
Yes. So, as you can see, this devotee, a sincere devotee who had offered the Maheshwara Puja, having such amazing breakthroughs in her life in so many different ways. You can also offer the Maheshwara Puja, which is upcoming. There is a Maheshwara Puja twice a month happening. You can offer the Maheshwara Puja and have the same breakthrough. If you'd like to offer today, you can go to kailasamailer.com/sevas and offer the Maheshwara Puja. You can register for the next one, and this will ensure that you are registered and prepared, and you do have to ensure that your photographs are uploaded, the photographs of the departed soul on behalf of whom you are offering. So you can get all of those ready and offer the Maheshwara Puja and have this breakthrough in your life. See, in our history, the king Bhagirath had done such intense tapas towards Brahma, towards Paramashiva, literally negotiated with all of the gods and ensured to bring down the river Ganga in order to liberate his own ancestors. But for us, it is absolutely easy, as the incarnation of Paramashiva is here with us, and we can simply be able to offer this Maheshwara Puja and liberate the departed souls. So please visit kailasamailer.com/sevas in order to find out more information and also make the offering. And now we're going to be moving on into the next segment of today's program. As a continuation of our Jayanti celebrations, the celebrations of the Avatar Dinotsavam, the 45th Avatar Dinotsavam, celebrating the Avatar happening 45 years ago at this time. Let us see the various different proclamations, releases, and news from all over Kailasa, which has been offered at the Divine Lotus feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on this auspicious occasion. And today, the number of books published by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism since 2002 is 1,139 in 36 languages. And you can see here the proportion of all the various books, with 493 books in English, 37 books in Spanish, 14 books in Bengali, 24 in Kannada, Portuguese, 20 with books regarding Gurukul and the education and upliftment of youth and children, 306. And the number of Naivedyams and Annadhans offered across the globe in Kailasas across the world for the occasion of Avatar Dinotsavam on December 28th is 54,408. The number of Naivedyams offered across the globe in Kailasas around the world is 4,977. And Naivedyams offered globally in Kailasas is Kailasa in Tamil Nadu with 1,474 and Adi Kailasa Sarvagnapeetham with 1,300, and so many other Adinams offering globally the various different Naivedyams on this occasion. The number of Annadhans offered across the globe in 20 plus Kailasas around the world is 49,431. And you can see here the various different Annadans offered and the number of meals per Kailasa. And the proclamations from around the world is 106. With so many different countries, government officials, nations, and different leading individuals offering the proclamations as well. You can see from USA, 42 different proclamations, from Canada, from Mauritius, from Fiji, from Belize, from Tanzania, from Singapore, 9 different proclamations, from Karnataka, 1 from China and Chinese world, 33 from Taiwan, 12 from Malaysia, 2, and from Trinidad and Tobago, 2 proclamations. So now we'll be looking at the offerings of proclamations from the United States. And we are thanking Congresswoman Anna G. Isuhu from the House of Representatives for her Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition. And as well, we thank Congressman David Valadao from the House of Representatives in California, United States. And Congresswoman Julia Brownlee, we thank you for your Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. As well, Congressman Mark Desalegn, we thank you for your Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition. Yes, and we thank Congressman Jamie Raskin from the House of Representatives in Maryland, United States, for his Certificate of Special Recognition presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Congressman Van Taylor from the House of Representatives from Texas in the United States for his Congressional Certificate to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Congressman John Curtis from the House of Representatives from Utah, United States, for his certificate to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Congressman Darren LaHood from the House of Representatives of Illinois, United States, for his letter of recognition. And we thank Mayor John Valdivia and from the City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, for his Certificate of Recognition, and Mayor Krista Bernasconi from the City of Roseville in California, United States, for the Certificate of Recognition. And we thank the Mayor Patrick Miller for his letter of tribute from the City of Townsend, Delaware, in the United States. And we thank Mayor Bob Brueggemann from the City of Texarkana, from Texas, United States, for his recognition. We thank Mayor Carolyn K. Rigo from the City of Delaware, Ohio, for her proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We thank the Mayor Larry Klein from the city of Sunnyvale, California, United States, for his proclamation presented to Kailasa in San Jose. And Mayor Javier John Dutry for his certificate of recognition from the city of Montclair, California, United States, presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Mayor Chris Alahauzus from the city of Tarpon Springs in Florida, United States, for his certificate of recognition. And we thank Mayor Thomas M. Burnaby for his certificate of recognition and proclamation from the city of Canton. We thank Mayor Terrell A.L. Hill from Palatka, Florida, United States, for his proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We humbly thank Mayor LeVar M. Stoney from the city of Richmond, Virginia, from the United States, for his proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Mayor Esther H. Mannheimer from the city of Asheville, North Carolina, United States, for her proclamation to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We thank Mayor Fred Jung from the city of Fullerton, California, for his proclamation to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for Kailasa's SPH Nithyananda Day. We thank Mayor Ian N. Oglesby from the city of Seaside, California, United States, for his proclamation of Kailasa's SPH Nithyananda Day on January 3rd. And we thank Mayor Lorena Barajas from Europa Valley in California for her proclamation to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We thank Mayor Joy F. Cooper from the city of Helendale Beach, Florida, for her proclamation. We thank Mayor Carlton Stevens from Wilson, North Carolina in the United States for his proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for Nithyananda Day. We thank Mayor Steve Geithens from the city of Bartow, Florida, for his proclamation. And as well, we thank Mayor William C. Reichelt from the city of West Springfield, Massachusetts, from the United States, for his proclamation. We thank Mayor Donald R. Sadler from the city of Washington, North Carolina, for his proclamation. And as well, we thank Mayor John David Smith from the city of Winchester, Virginia, for his proclamation, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. As well, we thank Mayor Sammy Phillips from the city of Jacksonville, Florida, United States, for his proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the proclamation of Kailasa's SPH Nithyananda Day. And Mayor H. William Mutz, the city of Lakeland, from the city of Lakeland, Florida, for his proclamation as well. And from the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we thank Mayor J. Allen Joines for his proclamation. And from the city of Kinston, North Carolina, we thank Mayor Don Hardy for his proclamation of Nithyananda Day, presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And from the city of Concord, North Carolina, we thank Mayor William C. Dust for his proclamation presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And we thank Mayor Pro Tem Peter A. Garcia and the city council members of the city of Fontana, North Carolina, from the United States for their proclamation. And now we'll be seeing some of the proclamations from the other countries. We thank Mayor John Tory from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, for his letter of greetings to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on the occasion of Nithyananda Day, hosted by Kailasa in Canada. We thank His Worship Robert Mariano from Dengriga town in Belize for his proclamation. We also thank Mayor Constantine Sima from Mwanza City in the United Republic of Tanzania for his proclamation presented towards the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And from Mauritius, Mr. Seipujan Lalar Bihari, General Secretary of Mauritius and Sanatana Hindu Dharma Temples Federation in Mauritius for his proclamation. We thank Sadashivan Naikar, the National President of then India Sanmarga Ikya Sangham, for his letter of greetings from the Fiji Islands. And this brings us to all of the various different offerings made, and we are thanking each and every one of the individuals that have given and presented to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism a proclamation on this day. And each and every one has recognized Kailasa's SPH Nithyananda Day, and who has recognized the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a sovereign state of Kailasa, as sovereign of the sovereign state of Kailasa. And the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is continuing to expand all over the world, bring the spiritual services, the great teachings across the world to so many different countries, across so many different languages, and in order to help and enrich billions worldwide. And in this way, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is continuously reaching out, continuously expanding the services of Kailasa through the books, through the service of free food, and as well through establishing the government relations in order to ensure the protection and bringing legitimacy to the nation of Kailasa and recognition to the nation of Kailasa, building diplomatic and government relationships in order to facilitate the growing and expanding services of Kailasa to enrich the whole world. So now we will be right back with you and continuing in today's program after a quick break. So having seen so many beautiful proclamations from around the world and offerings of more than 106 proclamations, declarations, and certificates in recognition of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the humongous amount of work that he has been doing, and each and every one of us, Kailasians across the world, and all of the viewers can remember and the amount of work the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been doing even this past year. If we look at this year in review, we can remember back-to-back BHAVA Samadhi darshans of all of the gods and goddesses. We can remember Paramashivoham program, the various different programs that Swamiji has made available, satsangs and initiations for hours. Every single moment, every single day, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has made himself available for each and every one of us to experience breakthrough this year and to continuously be guided. And we can offer the Pratyakshapada Puja as a deep, loving prayer towards the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism out of our gratitude this year for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for literally carrying us throughout the whole year. And we can ensure that we are taking this time to offer our gratitude at the feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, having established Kailasa, the nation, for Hindus, just for us, and for each and every one of us to enjoy Sanatana Hindu Dharma and to live the enlightenment lifestyle. And make sure that you can even go to kailasamailer.com in order to make an offering, and you'll be able to get the next steps for how to make an offering and what is all the things that you need, as well as the method for the payment. And as it says in the Kularnava Tantra, chapter 12, verse 12, there is no mantra higher than the Paduka, no God higher than the Guru, no initiation higher than Shakti, and no merit higher than the Kula worship. In this very verse, it is telling us and teaching us that there is no God even higher than the Guru. So let us, on January 3rd, this Jayanti day of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, offer the Pratyakshapada Puja to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Another verse as well, where it says, one should not approach royalty, the deity or the Guru, empty-handed. So as we are going to be having the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on the auspicious occasion of January 3rd, you can offer the Pratyakshapada Puja as a beautiful offering of gratitude at the divine lotus feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So with this, we will now be moving into the most awaited part of the program, the SATSANG, the Nithyananda SATSANG, and each and every one of us can imbibe the powerful cognitions delivered to humanity for superconscious breakthrough by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We'll now be ending with the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam.